people. I am Nathaniel Lee with another Metamorphic moment, but this time it's a Metamorphic moment on Monday. And the reason for it being Monday is because I decided it makes more sense to bring you inspiring, motivational, inspirational tidbit when you're facing or entering your responsibilities, obligations, and challenges that you'll face on the week, then to bring it at the end of the week when you're leaving those obligations, responsibilities, and challenges and going to your rest for the weekend. So I will be, God willing, bringing you the metamorphic moment on Mondays from now on. So when you're going into that busy work week, you can take a little something with you to help you get through it. And today I'm going to talk about a subject which is very, very dear to my heart. Some of us fall. We fall because we think we're not being blessed by God, or we're not making headway because we're not getting the money, we're not getting grants, we don't have the connections and the affluence, we don't have the degrees, and it seems like we're always fighting upstream. And so we think God's not blessing our work. But I want to remind you, sometimes God chooses, and more often than not. If you look at the Bible as an example, Jesus, all of his disciples were of the working class. All of the people he spent his time with seemed to be the poor, seemed to be those of little affluence. And there's a reason for that. He chose them. 1 Corinthians 1:26, when Paul was telling the Apostle Paul, he was telling those around him, his listeners, he was saying, look around you. Look around you. He said, there's not many of you of noble birth here. There's not many of you. There's not no sons of kings and queens and all of that. There's no affluent people. Many of you aren't affluent, of noble birth, right? You don't have a whole bunch of money. You're not coming from the rich. Why is that? Why is that? Because God uses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. God raises up the humble to lower the prideful. God has no use for he gets no glory out of taking people with all of the degrees. And so if you're one of those people and you're saying, hey, look, they're getting blessed. David in the Bible, I think it was the book of Psalms, he said, look, I almost slipped when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. Prosperity of the wicked. Think about that. The devil rewards his own. The devil will give you the houses. He took Jesus up after he finished fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. He said, look, Jesus, I will give you all of the lands and the kingdoms and this. And the devil could back that up. The devil have it to give you. You know, the devil can give you those houses. The devil can give you that land. Just because you don't have it doesn't mean that you're not serving God and you're not prospering. It could mean you didn't accept the offer. It could mean that when the devil came and said, look, I will give you this and I will give you that, all you got to do is serve me. It could be that you rejected it. And so now you're living in very frugal means, but you're prospering and your soul is prospering. And so I don't want us to get confused. I don't want us to get upset. I don't want us to get to the point where we believe that because we don't have all of the things that the people of the world have, like David said, I believe in Psalm 73, he said, I almost slipped when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. I saw that they don't get sick. They don't have the troubles that I have. They have money. They can get this. They can buy that. I can't do all of that. And when I saw that, I said, God, I almost slipped. And then David said, I looked at their ends. I look at the end of their road, the end of their stories, and they were in perdition. They were on a slippery slope. The people around you who prosper in this world may not be because they're doing what God told them to do. Their prosperity could be because they're not doing what God told them to do. It's not that God isn't blessing them. It's just they accepted the bribes from the devil. So therefore, when you don't see a financial, what should I call it, a financial explosion of assets because of the work you do, when you don't see politicians and people praising you, when you're not getting all of the awards and the accolades, when people aren't celebrating you the way they do, because nobody celebrated Jesus when he was walking the earth. They waited till he was dead and crucified. But when you don't see all of that, the Bible says, God, all who will live righteous will suffer persecution. If you're not suffering some type of persecution in this wicked world, then look, I got to say, you made some accommodations to this world. If you're not experiencing some type of pushback from the devil, then you got to question your status with God. So having People having more than you have, getting more than you got. God is always going to choose people like you, not people like them, because that's where he gets his glory. He used the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. He used the weak to confound the strong. So when you see that poor person, the people that America says, I don't want him. Look at his background. He got a criminal record. He got this. He did this in his past. He did that in the past. The America say, I can't use him. God says, I'll take him. When the people in your societies and your groups and your politicians say, look at this man. His parents are just sharecroppers. He's the son of slaves. He doesn't have any degrees behind his names. No, I'm sorry. We can't let him among us. We can't use him. And God said, I'll take him. That's the one I want. That's the one, because he is going to humble every last one of you. He's going to do my work. She's going to be the one that's going to confound the rod. She's going to be the one that I'm going to lift up and lower you. So I don't want you to start thinking about your prosperity and what you have and what you don't have in relation to rather the legitimacy of your mission or your goal with God. I don't want you to begin to equate what you don't have, because you will suffer. As long as you stay right, you will suffer some persecution and some oppression, and you may not be rewarded financially with affluence or all of those things. You may be, and you may not. Here's one way to tell. When God rewards you with prosperity, is it making you rich, or is it advancing his kingdom? When God rewards you with that car, are you driving to the local shelter to help feed the hungry or the poor? Or are you driving past it on your way to those banquets of the rich and the famous? You see what I'm saying? It's not what you have, it's what you do with it. When God gives you a mission, every last one of Jesus' disciples were working class. Every last one of his disciples works for a living. Most of them were of humble birth. And he chose them. When Jesus came to make his triumphant entry into Jerusalem, he didn't come with a stallion. He rode on an ass. He didn't come in a Benz. He came in a Jeep. And so now we look past people like that. We like, oh, look what he's driving. God said, I'll take him. That's the one for me. When Israel needed a king, when they didn't need one, they decided they were going to get one because they didn't trust God according to the biblical narrative. And he said, and they were presenting people who would possibly be king. And he said, look, here's this young man Saul. I believe it was Saul, but whoever it was, he was handsome, he was tall, and he was all of this. And God said, nope, not him. Okay, bring all his sons, all of the men of the kingdom. I might be getting this a little wrong. It's been a while since I read it. And who did God choose? He chose this little shepherd boy. They thought David was so lowly and so unworthy of consideration, they didn't even bring him to the lineup. They didn't even invite him to the interview. And God told the prophet, he said, there's someone else missing. Well, there's only we only have one other son. That's my shepherd son. You ain't talking about him. That's exactly who I'm talking about. Bring him to me. And he presented him, and God told the prophet, this is him. This is the one. What? God, are you crazy? You want the shepherd? You want the guy out there? We don't even, he's the black sheep, quote unquote, of the family. And God said, I want him. That's the one I want. This is the one that's going to do it. I don't want your tall sons, your handsome sons, your hunters, your this, the famous, the affluent. I want that one right there, because I am going to use him to get glory for myself. What am I saying here? I'm saying this, and if it works for you, it works. If not, don't chew the bone, chew the meat, and throw away the bone. We make mistakes on this this video here, so I'm not editing any of them out because I want this to be real. But what I want you to recognize is this: all of those affluent people, sometimes their gifts ain't coming from, their prosperity isn't coming from God. Sometimes it's coming from the adversary of God. Sometimes it's to prevent them from doing what God wanted them to do. Sometimes it's a distraction. But God is, if you notice, God is using the most humble people, the people of no means, to get glory for himself. And so when you look at the prosperity of the wicked and you see them getting this, that every time you turn around, they're getting these prizes and awards. They're getting recognized in the paper. Every time you turn around, they're getting recognized and they're getting tons of money. They're getting grant money for their projects. They're getting this. And you're like, wow, well, God, why am I not getting this? And you're like David, I almost slipped. I almost gave up. I almost said, wow. No, it's not that you're not being blessed by God. It's just that you didn't accept the bribe of the devil. Because what you're doing is hopefully bearing fruit. You continue doing what God is telling you to do. It's going to bear fruit of a different kind. And it's going to have everlasting implications. And so you continue. Don't look at the wealth of the world. Don't look at, because God always chose the humble. He always looked past those who are haughty. If your gifts and your challenges, and that's the thing, that's another way of telling, of knowing whether a gift is from God or not, because it doesn't make you humble when you receive it. If it's from the devil, it doesn't make you humble. It makes you haughty. It doesn't make you serve. It doesn't make you serve. It makes you become the person who abuse servants. It doesn't make you the type of person who is selfless. It makes you selfish. And when you see the gifts and the prosperity beginning to have those effects on you, you know it's probably not from God. It's probably not from God. And so be blessed in what you're doing and grateful. And so if you're feeding the poor and you have a nonprofit, don't talk about how many people you don't know to start your nonprofit to serve people. Don't talk about, I got to get in office or have the politicians back me in order to serve people. Do what God told you to do in the way that God told you to do it. And he's going to get work done by you and through you. Trust me. Because all of those other things get in the way. All of those other things get in the way. I used to wonder how monastics, they used to take vows of poverty. I see why now. Now, I'm not saying do that. I'm not going to do that. But what I'm saying is, I see now. Because now their interest is totally in their mission for God. And they're not caught up with the things of this world. David said in Psalm 73, and I saw their ends. I saw their ends, their latter days. And whoa, it was not good. They had wealth. They had affluence. They were getting major awards. They were getting prizes and recognition far beyond anything I could imagine. God said, I don't. But if you notice that, and all of those things that I named, it was about them. They were getting awards. They were getting recognized. And so it was the opposite of what Jesus was saying. I must decrease and God must increase. When they would get, the more they were getting, the more center stage they were. And the less and less the recognition of God, the acknowledgement of God was in their lives. They were increasing and they were causing the memory, the knowledge of God to decrease. They were trying to outshadow God. They were stealing his thunder. How? Because they were getting affluence. They were getting the news, the public notoriety. And so I just froze for a second. That's why if you see me stop, something just froze in my phone. But I do not want you ever to consider to equate the prosperity of the world with the blessings of God. Because those who are in God will suffer, those who are righteous will suffer persecution or oppression, and sometimes we're just not going to have worldly goods. The Bible says, love not the world, neither the things of it. Why are you comparing what you do, judging whether God is blessing you or not, or God has chosen you for a path based on worldly considerations when he told us to love not the world, neither the things of the world? Why are you equating, why would God put a whole bunch of emphasis on your material stuff? And he said, I'll take care of you, but love not the world, neither the things of the world. And you're jealous of people who are benefiting and prospering from the things of the world that you're not even supposed to associate with? And you're not feeling blessed? You're supposed to be blessed. Thank God that's not me. Because he's so. Every time I see them, they being praised. Thank God that's not me. So that I can continue to praise God, so that I can continue to walk in God. So every time people see me, they see through me and see God. But they want, the others, the world, they want people to look and see them. They are the epitome. They are it. So be grateful that God said, no, I want you to tarry in the vineyards, and I want you to continue planting until my return, until I come back and get you, and let them have theirs now. Look, trust me, you're happier than they are. That was our metamorphic moment for this Monday. Thank you for joining me. I ran a little long, but I'm really passionate about this subject. You guys can follow me on Facebook, Nathaniel Lee. You can also follow me on Instagram at Front Page Nate, Front Page Nate. Or you can follow me on, well, I just got rid of my TikTok, but my Twitter, I won't be doing that. But I am on TikTok, and the same at Front Page Nate, at Front Page Nate. Thank you so much. Be blessed and continue walking in your purpose despite worldly considerations, because what you have does not determine what he can do.